The days are starting to get a little shorter, and there's that first hint of cool air moving into southwestern Pennsylvania this week. Around here, that can only mean one thing: it's time for high school football. And there is simply no better time or place to be on a Friday night than under the lights in a WPIAL stadium with the bands playing, the stands packed, and the communities coming together to cheer on their teams. We're kicking off the 2025 season the right way with two of the best that ever cover high school football in this region. For over 3 decades, Don Rebel of the TribLive High School Sports Network and Mike White of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. You've heard their voices, you've seen their stories, and they are true historians of the WPIL. If you've followed high school football in Western Pennsylvania, you've read their work, you've heard their work, and they're joining us here today on the TroupCast, powered by Oneberg on our Facebook channel, YouTube, and Spotify. It is our WPIAL 2025 football preview show. Reunion of sorts with Dawn and Mike back together again for the first time in ages. How are you both doing?
Ages.
Well, pleasure to be on with you, Ed.
Hey, I tell you, Ed, we got to be filled with gratitude that Mike White is joining us one day after being cut by the Buffalo Bills. It shows you his moxie that he's able to in wanting to do this.
Was I cut?
You were cut. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm like Ben DiNucci. I got cut one day, and I'm joining CBS Sports and Ed Troup for the next day. Did you see Ben DiNucci? He got cut by the Falcons, and he's going to do CBS Sports, former Pine Ridge quarterback, Bucknell and Air Force, I think, this Saturday. He's going to be.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good for him.
I don't know why I brought that up, but I did.
Hey, Mike, that's why we have you on here, for little nuggets like that we need to get out to the community to hear all those good factoids. Dawn and Mike, for a long time, used to do a halftime show together on the WPIL broadcast that we used to do here around the region for a long time. The Professor Mike White, I think Dawn used to refer to you as a couple times throughout. There are nobody better than the two of you when it comes to the audio or the print version of high school football across Western Pennsylvania. So I wanted to bring you two together today to talk about the 2025 season. Week 0 last week. Week 1 officially gets underway this upcoming Friday night. Some storylines before we jump into the classifications. Mike, I'll start with you, then Dawn, we'll get your thoughts. I want to start with quarterback Matt Sieg from Fort Cherry High School. He's one of the top storylines across the WPIL in the last few years. This is his senior season, the Penn State commute. Is there any better player that you've seen recently in the WPIL than Matt Sieg?
Yeah, there is. No, and I don't mean to cut down Matt Sieg. He's a great high school football player. Great high school football player. And the numbers he's putting up are really impressive. He's going to be the all-time leader in offense, and he's going to set the touchdowns record for WPIL. But Ed, you're talking about, you said, I don't know what you mean recently, but going back in the 2000, I mean, we've had some pretty dominating players in the last 25, 30 years, both ways. His numbers are up there with Terrell Pryor's, and maybe even better. They will be even better rushing. Of course, he's done it over 4 years, but great high school player. But we've had some pretty good ones over the years who have done things both ways, even in the last 25, 30 years. I mean, you just look at people like, well, LeVar Arrington was about 30 years ago. Terrell Pryor, Darrell Revis, Paul Posluszny, Steve Breslin, Tyler Pelko. I mean, those guys were pretty dang good. And not to be too long-winded, but I've often compared Matt Sieg. This is a guy, I think his story is very similar in the background, in the future, with Derek Bonner from Mapletown. Derek Bonner was the leading rusher in WPL history in the late 80s. He was number 1 at one point. Wasn't highly recruited and went to Penn State as a defensive back. But he also was a really good baseball player, just like Matt Sieg is a really good baseball player. Matt Sieg is going to Penn State for football. He would be a defensive back from a small school. Derek Bonner's from Mapletown, Fort Cherry, small school. And don't be surprised if Matt eventually plays both sports at Penn State. And I just think from their background, small schools, what they've done, their stats, their stories are so similar. And Derek Bonner was really good as a defensive back at Penn State and was really good as a baseball player.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. It's first of all, Mike, it's great to be talking about the players with you once again. Yeah, his numbers are going to probably be incomparable if he's healthy this year. And I think what stood out last year, he breaks his thumb, and yet I don't know that he missed a game. Was still able to put up huge numbers. Eventually, got into where he could once again throw the football, and became a danger as far as that's concerned. And anybody who saw the championship game last year, Clairton did everything they possibly could to shut him down, but he kept somehow, some way making plays. 2 long 4th down conversions on the game-winning drive, including the game-winning touchdown, which was an incredible individual play. He's an outstanding player. He will be one of the legends, especially in Washington County, when all is said and done. But that's a good comparison because Derek Bonner he was a dominant player in high school, and he ended up having a really nice career up at Penn State.
The other storyline across the WPIL going into the season is the return of Mike Warfield at Aliquippa after taking a leave of absence a year ago. He is back leading the Quips into the 2025 season. And again, our thoughts are with that community. We know about the bus accident last weekend with the junior high team out there. But let's go back to Mike Warfield with Aliquippa. Dawn, I'll start with you on this one, then we'll go to Mike. Is he going to be the difference maker for Aliquippa to get them back on the train? Last year, a little bit of a step back, if you will. I mean, they didn't win the championship, so I don't know if you want to consider that a step back or not.
I guess anytime they fail to make the championship, it's a step back. They lost in the semifinals. I think he's a great coach, and I wasn't surprised. I don't know that anybody could be surprised because I thought he was perfectly clear that he wasn't retiring, he wasn't resigning, he was just stepping away, and he took a year sabbatical, and I'm sure he's he's fresh, ready to go. 4A's tough. Well, I'm sure we're going to talk about it. But Aliquippa is definitely one of the teams to beat. So I think that, he's proven himself as an outstanding coach, and they're going to be a factor this year. But as far as being surprised that he's back, I for one am not.
Mike?
I think what happened years ago, what they did at Aliquippa to Mike Zmianek was terrible, was not right, was unjust. However, if there was if they had to be done, and if there was one person to take over, it should have been Mike Warfield. He's done a marvelous job. He's great for those kids. He's done great things as far as even raising money for the program. Great coach. I don't think this is a great Aliquippa team. I think the jury is still out on how good they will be. I think they'll be good. They're going to be in the race in 4A without a doubt. But some of those kids that transferred in last year are gone. Larry Moon, Sanir Brooks, I think. I saw him playing at St. Francis the other night on ESPN. Had over 100 yards. A few other kids have gone. I think they are a good team this year. How good? I don't know. I think a lot's going to depend on their lines. And, they have a good quarterback in Marcus Council going to Yale. I think one thing they don't, at least on the outskirts, it seems like they don't have now, which they have so many times, do they have that real breakaway running back that's going to really chew up a lot of yards and that game breaker at running back? I don't know. They're all inexperienced. Maybe someone will break through, but I see them lacking a little bit there, and I don't know what they have on the lines.
Gentlemen, let's talk about head coaches, legendary head coaches across the WPIL. Bill Cherpek at Thomas Jefferson. He has won 10 WPIAL titles. This year, if TJ gets there, he would win 11. That's the 10 is the most ever by any WPIL coach. He's going to be shooting for 11. Mike, is there any better coach in the game currently? And we're in like a transition period, I feel like, with high school football coaches. A lot of the legends are retiring. They're getting out of the game. Bill Cherpek is not one of them. He's still at TJ. Is there anyone better than Coach Cherpek at TJ right now?
As far as the whole ball of wax, as far as what he does with just almost all the time his own kids, they don't get kids usually transfers. No, I mean 10 championships. I mean he has to go down as one of the best coaches in any sport in WBL history. What he's done there on a consistent basis, year after year, is just it's remarkable. He's one of the best coaches in the history of WPIAL in any sport. And right now, yeah, just because of the championships, and there are a lot, and Bill will tell you this. He gets a lot of flowers, but there are a lot of great coaches, and I shouldn't say great. There are a lot of good coaches at WPIAL that don't really get the credit that they deserve, maybe because they don't have the players. It's not as easy as Central Catholic where they can get players from everywhere. You kind of have to go with what you have, but what he's done there is just, I mean, he's one of the best in the history of WPIAL in any sport. I'm putting him right up there with Phil Breidenbach. Right, Don?
Bill
My
Breidenbach.
favorites back in Newcastle in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Won 7 championships when you didn't get to there were no playoffs. There were only 3 classes. And that guy still, he's not in the WPIAL Hall of Fame. Why not? I think he's one of the greatest coaches ever. I know Don knew him personally. He used to go to his house back in the 40s and 50s. He's my guy still. I'm not saying he's Cherpek, but I'm giving Phil Breidenbach some flowers.
Don?
Deservedly so. He had all those guys coming over from Ohio, so I'm not sure. Well, back they were real loose with the transfers in the 30s and 40s. You said it right at the beginning when you were talking about Chirp, is that they don't get the recruits. People say, well, Southern Columbia, Thomas Jefferson, other schools who aren't going up, in classification with the PIAA success rate or success rule, because they don't get the transfers. They win championships, but they don't get the transfers. And the one thing that I've liked about Bill is that, first of all, a lot of his assistants have been longtime assistants, but he's an old offensive lineman. Run the ball, and that's really when they've been successful. That's what they've done. They've had some good quarterbacks, but they've never changing with the times and spread offenses and all that stuff. He's still, hey, it's basic football. You gotta win at the line of scrimmage. You got to tackle the football, and that's what he pounds into his kids' heads, and it works. And they come and go, and yet they're successful year in and year out, and defending champs who will be in the run for the money again this year. Definitely, no question. I'm not sure he's going to be the all-time winningest coach because he keeps saying he's not going to last that long, but. He's rising up the ranks very quickly.
I want to say one thing. I was at a luncheon one time with Bob Pelko. Bob Pelko was still coaching. And he saw Cherpek, and he said, he's like got his own race over there. All these kids come every year. They dye their hair blonde. They don't look the greatest, but they all just win. And I think their running back Tyler Eber is a great example of this. I mean, he's not going to be a Division I running. He'll be a Division III running back, but he's going to have a great career, and he's won, and he's going to win more. I mean, yeah, they've had Division I kids, no doubt. They've had NFL players, but he does it a lot of times with kids who are just. They buy into that program, and they're just really good high school players.
We're talking with Don Rebel of the TribLive High School Sports Network and Mike White of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette previewing the 2025 WPIAL high school football season that is already underway. Week 0 last Friday night, kicking things across the region, but week 1 will begin this upcoming Friday night. Gentlemen, let's break down each classification. I'll get both of your thoughts. We'll start in Class 6A, and we'll start with you, Mike. Central Catholic, the defending champ, North Allegheny. Is there anyone else that can compete in 6A? We know it's boring. You and I talked about this last year in Class 6A. Mount Lebanon maybe making some noise. Seneca Valley, Cannon Mac, where I am. I know they have Coach Brian DeLillo now in the mix for Coach Evans, who's out this year fighting cancer. And our thoughts are with Coach Evans, by the way, in that community as well. But can anybody compete with Central Catholic or North Allegheny?
Can they? Yes, there's a chance, but no,
Will
it is. It's boring. It's boring. The Central Catholic's going to be a championship, and all likelihood, I saw North Allegheny play last week. They're not. This is not a great North Allegheny team, but they're still going to be very good, and it's going to be the same old story. And no, I mean, I thought, one game does not a season make, but I had my eyes on Mount Lebanon, and they just got that walloped by St. Clair. And Seneca Valley, new coach Don Barclay, they go and, Bethel Park runs up and down the field, throws everywhere on them. And Hempfield, they have a close game with North Hills and Cannon Mac, but it's going to be the same old story.
Don?
Yeah, no, it's, I've been saying it for years as well. The whole 6A expansion was for District 1 and District 3, which have a lot more 6A schools than Western Pennsylvania. And, with each 2-year cycle, it's outside of the 2021 run by Mount Lebanon, and now the Pine Richlands down in 5A. It's going to be North Allegheny and Central Catholic until somebody steps up. And it'll probably be, barring massive injuries, the Vikings and Tigers again for a 4th straight year for the 6A title this season. And until one of these other programs steps up or the Vikings or Tigers take a big step back, they're head and shoulders above everybody else right now.
For as boring as 6A is, 5A is not. 5A is loaded. Pine Richland, the defending champion of Peters Township, Upper St. Clair, Penn Trafford, Woodland Hills, starting to make a little bit of a comeback here the last couple seasons, including this year. 5A, very exciting, but tough to go against a very talented Pine Richland team, right, Mike?
Yeah, it is. But you know what? I'm still saying watch out for Peters Township. And, they have a seasoned quarterback. They have the FBS guys, power conference guys. They have a lot of starters back from last year, so don't count them out. I think this is a really interesting game this week, them and McKeesport. Great game, just a great game. And Pine Richland plays a really great game against Central Catholic. These are 2 tremendous games. But 5A, I think probably the best as far as top to bottom, as far as depth of quality teams. I think those 2 are up there as probably the best. Wouldn't surprise if they're in a championship again. But there's some other good ones too. And, Upper St. Clair, impressive win against Mount Lebanon, Woodland Hills, Scoop Smith. If, they can find out more ways to get them the ball more often. But they're pretty good. They have a seasoned quarterback. There's some teams also that are in that. Moon's the team that everybody's talking about that could be really good, although they struggled to beat Trinity the first week. So their team, maybe that's a sleeper team to watch for.
Yeah, we saw Pine Richland Peters Township in the championship a year ago, and I think this may be as wide open as 5A has been over the years, and that's what's really made it the great classification it's become. I'm not sure that there's the quality depth. Mike mentioned a few teams. St. Clair, as he mentioned, a good start, great start for Bethel Park, offensive explosion against Seneca Valley. Plum had a good start, beating Franklin Regional for the first time in 7 years. But I don't think there's the depth there. Pine Richland and Peters are, I think, what we're talking about. Maybe not that great chasm in 6A, but it's going to take a mammoth effort to knock one of those two teams off of those top two pedestals. St. Clair could do it. Woodland Hills could do it. And then maybe somebody will rise up. Mike mentioned Moon as a team to watch. We'll see, but I don't think there's that great depth of everybody being at this same level as we're kind of used to in Class 5A that we've seen in really since 5A became a thing back 10 years ago.
Class 4A, Don and Mike, Thomas Jefferson, the defending champ. We talked about Coach Cherpek to start out the podcast here this evening. McKeesport loaded this year as well. They've been on the rise the last few seasons. The Clips are in that mix. Who do you guys like in Class 4A? I'll start with you, Don, then we'll go to Mike.
Yeah, it's same old, same old. I mean, you have defending champion Thomas Jefferson, who we talked about. Tyler Eber's a special running back. Speaking of special, Keemon Spell of McKeesport, first 3 times he touches the ball, including the opening kickoff, takes it to the house. McKeesport beats Delaware Valley in week 0. A lot of folks like the Tigers this year as the team to beat after they were the runners-up a year ago. I don't know that there's that great depth. Newcastle might be a team to watch. Coach Bonjavengo, has done a nice job since coming over from the Shannock. He made Neshannock a great program. Seems to be taking the Red Hurricanes in that direction. They had a nice win in week 0. I'll echo Michael's sentiments that Aliquippa is always in the mix, but they might not have the horses that they've had in the past. Mars could be a team to watch, but it's going to take a special effort to once again prevent McKeesport and TJ from meeting in the end.
Mike?
I'm all in on what Don said. I think there's 3 teams that clearly above the rest, McKeesport, TJ, and I'll throw Aliquippa third. And I tell you what, this Keemon Spell, he'll put a spell on you, Mr. Rebel.
Oh, yeah.
He, the thing that I've been impressed with so much is with him is I saw the highlights the other day, but the physicalness and what his body looks like, even compared to a year ago. I mean, this is a man now. He's like 215 pounds. And I had a coach send me out of the clear blue a text message. I'm not going to say who it was, and said, I've seen a lot of the great ones. I used to think Pryor was the best, LeVar best running back, maybe as far in linebacker, and Russell Shell was. And he said, you obviously have seen all the best, but he said, I think I may have seen the best running back that I've seen in Keemon Spell. And this is a coach at the 6A level. This kid is really good. And the thing about him is, yeah, he's fast but the way their offense runs, he gets a lot of yardage through the tackles, up between the tackles, which, he's going to Penn State, although he's visiting some other schools still, which I think Penn State likes. He'll fit right in line with the Singleton and who they have up there. And with Penn State, my question is, if he gets to Penn State, will we ever see 3 WPIAL kids, not in the backfield at the same time, but will they all stay? I'm talking Tyke Hayes, Quentin Martin, and Keemon Spell. They're all going to be there in 2 years, I would guess, but will they all stay?
Yeah, 3 of the best the last few years across the WPIL for sure. Mike, we're talking with Mike White of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette and Don Rebel of the TribLive High School Sports Network. Gentlemen, we have about 10 minutes left, and it was a lot easier when there was 4 classifications. That this show would go a lot smoother, but with 6 classifications, and we got to get your thoughts on the City League. We have a few more to go. Let's move on to Class 3A. Mike, I'll start with you, then we'll go to Don. Avonworth, the defending champ. They've been, the last 3 straight seasons making it to the championship game. They win it last year. You got Amani Christian, Beaver, and Central Valley. Who do you like in Class 3A?
Avonworth and Amani Christian. Amani Christian has Gabe Jenkins going to Penn State. He's playing quarterback this year. David Davis, running back, defense back, going to Penn State. Avonworth is very good. They've got players. And they got experience from last year. They've been in the championship the last 3 years, came close to winning the state. I like those two. Sleeper team, North Catholic. And don't forget Central Valley also. But North Catholic, with this passing game with Joey Felitsky, Riker Kennedy, and a few other guys, they led the WPIAL in a passing yardage and receiving and catches last year. And they've got other kids too. Will they have a defense to stop anybody? They played Seton LaSalle. And Seton, I think, is, a lot of people had them number one coming into the season, and rightly so, because 2A is not very good, I should say. I mean, as far as depth of quality teams. And they just handled Seton, which wasn't all that surprising. Seton doesn't have a quarterback in now, and they've lost their top receivers. But I think those are the two top teams, without a doubt.
Don?
Totally agree. We saw those two Antelopes and Saints meet in the semifinals last year with Avonworth winning. Imani Christian, big win over Clairton.
Hey, Ed, he's the only person he still says that I love. Don calls him Imani Christian. Imani Christian, not Imani.
Imani Christian. I'll fly solo on that. That's fine, because I'm not changing. The one thing about Imani Christian is that they have obviously some tremendous skill players. Depth, maybe a question mark. They suffer an injury or two there. We'll see. They hopefully don't want to get into that situation. You mentioned Central Valley. I think that Western Hills Conference, that's a good test for Avonworth. You not only have North Catholic, which you mentioned as a dark horse with last year's leading passer, Joey Felitsky, Central Valley, Beaver, and keep your eye on Hopewell. James Armstrong, big game in week 0. He was throwing the ball all over the yard a year ago. That's a tough Western Hills Conference that I think the teams that come out of there are going to make some noise in the postseason.
That's Stretch Armstrong, Don. Remember that doll? He stretched him out.
I have one in my cars.
Really? That is him, Stretch Armstrong. He stretch him out. He plays anywhere, everywhere. He plays every sport imaginable. So, Don, you Imani, I Imani.
There you go. We all Imani.
We got it covered here on the TroupCast. Class 2A, guys, South Park is the defending champ. We mentioned Seton LaSalle. They had the quarterback controversy from Southmoreland. Will he come in? Will he not? He's not there. As you said, Mike, they're still trying to figure out the quarterback spot. Western Beaver, I saw Keystone Oaks last week in their game against Deer Lakes, losing at home to open up week 0. Don, we'll go to you, then we'll go to Mike, Class 2A.
Wide open. The two teams we saw play for gold a year ago, Mike mentioned the issues now with Seton LaSalle. They still have some talented players, but a lot of big question marks after a tumultuous off season. South Park, they lost some big players, emphasis on big, in their power running game that led them to the championship a year ago. Is this the season Washington, which is ranked, I believe we have them number 2 in the Trib HSSN poll? Is this the year that they always have a great regular season? Can they make some noise in the postseason? Shady Side Academy had a very nice win, come from behind victory in week 0. Are they a team? You never know, again, private schools. So you get the, new players coming in. South Allegheny, can they live up to what they did a year ago? One team that I like, speaking of great athletes, Bobby Fadden, the Mohawk Warriors, my favorite to win the Midwestern Conference, and maybe a team that has made some noise. They've had some nice runs, but never have been able to get to the championship game. In a wide open 2A this year, why not?
Well, to be honest, I mean, it is wide open. I agree with you, Don. But it's just, and this is what happens with 6 classifications. Some of the 1 or 2 of the classifications gets watered down and is really not all that strong. And I think this is 2A. There's not, I don't see any great teams there. Is this the year though? Can we talk? Who would have thought South Allegheny in the running, maybe to talk about a championship in South Allegheny? It's unbelievable. But they got number of kids back. Drew Cook was second leading receiver in WPIAL last year, and his brother, I think, is a starting quarterback now. Who's their dad, Bilal Cook, was a starter. Duquesne went to Kansas.
Right.
Their brother, I think, is a freshman. I think he's a starting quarterback from the stats I saw the first week. So they're good. I mean, South Park, you can't count them out, even though they lost so many players. Don went down the list. I agree with him with a lot of the teams. It's just not a great classification as far as the depth of quality teams, but somebody will come. And I think that was proven last year. South Park won the WPIAL, and then they got beat pretty handily in the first round of the state playoffs. So,
Mike, Class 1A Fort Cherry, the defending champ, trying to go for 3 in a row with Matt Sieg and company. Clarendon on the rise, the new Tyler Boyd Stadium opening up last week in Clarendon. And Jeanette also on the radar in Class 1A. Who do you like there?
Well, I think it's a 2-horse race again. Not Kenny the horse, but Ed the horse Collington from Penn Hills. Fort Cherry and Clarendon. A lot of people say Clarendon should be number 1. Fort Cherry should be number 1. I don't know. They're the defending champs. They beat them last year, so I think you go with them, although Clarendon is very good. They gave Amani Christian all they could handle. Jeanette, there are some other teams that could pop up. But I think they're the 2 best, and I would expect to see that. Watch Cornell. They've had good years the last few seasons, and you always got to wonder about them because they have a cooperative sponsorship with Nazareth Prep, so you don't know who might be new coming into that mix. And I talked to one of their players. They have a few new players from Nazareth Prep, so watch them. And half of their team is actually about half of their team. I shouldn't say half. They got 10 to 12 players from Nazareth Prep. And if they didn't have Nazareth Prep, I don't know if you'd see a Cornell football team.
Interesting. Dawn?
Yeah, back when they didn't have a team, they were with Quaker Valley. Quaker Valley had some of their best teams, yeah. Again, I agree with Mike. We've been going down all these classifications, and outside of 2A, the top 2 teams seem to be pretty set in stone. Now, anything can happen. It's only 1 week in the books, but I think Fort Cherry and Clarendon, a good chance that we see the rematch in the championship. There are, I think, some better dark horses in this classification than what we were trying to search for in Class 2A. I'll throw a couple others out there. Mike mentioned Jeanette. I like, we'll wait and see. But Bishop Canevin, expect them to make some noise again this fall. And they'll challenge Fort Cherry in the Black Hills Conference. They've had some great regular season matchups over the last couple of years. And keep your eye on Laurel. I know Neshannock probably was the team to beat and still could be in the Big 7 conference. But Laurel, Lucas Santini has had a couple of good years for the Spartans. He had a good start in their victory over Elwood City. One-sided win against a pretty good Wolverines team. So keep your eye on the Laurel Spartans out of the Big 7.
John, I have a question real quick. You mentioned Bishop Canevin. They have a pretty good receiver, DeMar Olds. From what I understand, is he related somehow to Paris Ford and the old Pitt basketball player Chevy Troutman? You don't even get it.
I do get it. I was trying to think of another Cliff Pontiac, but I couldn't come up with anybody else.
This is why you two are the.
I think they're going to play in a Pontiac Silverdome.
Oh, very nice.
I should just let you two go at it here.
Mustang's jacket.
The Laurel Highlands Mustangs.
No.
The Langley Mustangs.
That's right, brother.
Oh, how could I forget about the Langley? They have a statue out there of Don Rebel outside of Langley. Too bad
that's right. The
school still is there. Yeah, that's right.
The Pigeons love it.
Is there anyone in the school at Langley though? Do they have it?
It's like a K through 8, I think now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, speaking of Langley, great segue to this. The City League. Dawn, you're a City League guy, as we just talked about. Westinghouse going for 4 straight City League titles. Seems to be a pretty much lock, just like some of these other classifications. Maybe Alderdice. Not sure if there's really anybody else that's going to be able to compete with Westinghouse. They're not only one of the best teams in the City League, they're one of the best teams in the state.
Yeah, good start Saturday, right? Knocking off one of the top 2A teams in the WPIL in Steel Valley. They're the class of the league. They're the old Perry Commodores of the '90s. Just continue to dominate. Alderdice might make some noise. Uso might make some noise, but it appears to be Westinghouse trying to get
wrestling reference.
USO.
Trying to get the. Well, I think that'd be the first team. I saw Harvard write something about this. The first team since Perry of the '90s to win 4 straight.
You saw Harvard write something?
Yeah, your boy Keith Barnes.
Oh, okay.
I call him Harvard.
Westinghouse is definitely the class of that. It seems like a lot of people forgot about them just because they got trounced by Bishop Guilfoyle last year. It was a very good team, and that really left a sour taste in their mouth. I know that, but they've got a kid, DeJour Pinckney is a sophomore. He already has an offer from Pitt. DeJour, he's a super kid.
Wow.
And Josiah Collins just committed to Akron. He kept it quiet in the summer. He committed to Akron. Their quarterback was started as a freshman last year at West Mifflin, Ismaili. They've got other kids. I think they're better than people think, and I think people forgot about them just because they lost to Guilfoyle last year, and they should not have. And they have one of the best coaches around that people don't realize in Dante.
DeJour would be if we had one, he'd be our player of the day.
That's right.
Mike and Don, just a few more minutes left with you. And Mike, I wanted to talk about, you just had an article in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette about NIL money for college athletes impacting high school athletes here locally. Great article that you did there.
Thank you.
And Mike, that's now a factor across WPIL with high school athletes, a big factor. And if you go through that article, you'll see that, one day they're playing high school football, and then a year later they're making 6 figures playing a college contract. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I went into that. I wouldn't say it's a factor on the high school front because I don't think there aren't. It's more the revenue sharing now than the NIL. And people talk, the NIL money. Yeah, there's NIL money, but it's now this revenue sharing that's going to come into effect actually this year from the House settlement. But, I went into that, Ed and Don, I didn't know if I would get a story. If I did get a story, I didn't know what it was. Here's what I did. I just went and talked to a lot of the Power Conference kids that we have. We have 14 so far this year in WPIL. And just to talk about this because it's what everybody wants to know about. And the kids were great to talk to. And they were very honest as they could be. They didn't want to tell me how much they would make at their school next year. But the general figure of, Power Conference schools are offering at least $100,000. And I think it was, part of my job, I think as journalists is to maybe educate the public at times. And being able to put some dollar figures down, I think, was one of the greatest things of that story. I shouldn't say it was I don't know if it was a great story or not, but, when you've got, and he didn't want to say who, it was another player, and he didn't want to say what school, but when you've got one player saying one school was offering him $250,000 next year, when you've got another player saying one school's offering $475,000, he's not even a skill position player. You're talking $275,000, $250,000 for somebody you may not even play much as a freshman. It's really unbelievable. And I go back to but it's the way it is now. But if you've ever had a parent, if you've been a parent sent kids through college, Don has, I have. It's just with the rising cost of tuition, and my kids are out of college, Don's are too. But it's just the average Joe, they're still going to go to games without a doubt. But man, the money, and you see the rising cost of college, and you have to pay, and these kids are getting $250,000 as a freshman. It really is eye-opening. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Dawn, your thoughts on that changing of what's happening with the college sports landscape?
It's crazy. Well, first of all, not that I've always been more of a pro fan, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, than college. And I know a lot of folks, friends of mine, are the complete opposite. They've always loved college sports, and I have nothing against college sports, but I've gravitated more toward the pros when I was younger. But man, I tell you what, the college game now, with the money now, with the transfer portal, it is a completely different beast than what it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. And I don't think it's a better beast. But again, kudos to these kids. It's always been a big argument. Is a scholarship enough for what they bring to the universities? And the fact that anybody who can get any sort of help, whether it be a scholarship, whether it be NIL money, revenue sharing money, whatever, to offset the ridiculous cost of college. God bless them. That's what I say. And because of, like Mike said, we had to put our kids through college. That's why I'm wearing 30-year-old Quebec Nordique shirts now. So, I mean, it's hard times have come.
That's a sweet flashback there, my friend. I like it. Dawn and Mike. Mike, did you have another thought? I thought you were going to jump in. No?
No, as I could say, but people are still going to go to college games. You look at the big conferences; those stadiums will be full still.
Yep, no doubt.
But I agree with you. I mean, I think it's even worse in basketball because I think that I think the transfers are even more in basketball, and you see it more because there aren't as many players. But I mean, in basketball, you see kids go to 4 colleges in 5 years. It's just really, it's not the same. But people still following will be into it.
Those basketball rosters that you speak of, Mike, they flip almost days after the season ends. There's players already declaring that they're out. Most of those rosters, there's over 80% are new the following season. Mike and Dawn, thank you both so much for coming on the TroupCast this week. I've had you both on separately before. I thought it'd be cool to get you both back on together. Two of the best to ever do it, and thank you both for everything you've done over the years covering WPIL sports across Western Pennsylvania. The fans, the schools, the players, the coaches, they all think very highly of both of you, and you both have been, as I said at the top, two good mentors of mine. I know you both like the joke, but in all seriousness, thank you for what you've done for the communities and what you continue to do.
Well, thank you, Ed. That's very nice of you. And Dawn, I guess it was okay doing this with you. So good luck, sir.
Thank you, Ed, for the kind words. And any chance to get it, anytime I get a chance to talk about the players with Mike White, how can I say no?
I wasn't the professor.
If only I had my 10 factoids thing. That would really.
I wasn't the professor today with the buses outside and the Sister Mary Elephant. Sister Mary Elephant, the helicopter. We're here at the stadium, the helicopter. Anyway.
Mike and Dawn, maybe we can get you both back on together towards playoff time so we can preview the playoffs. I'd love to have you both back on again. And gosh, we could talk about so much more. You guys have seen a lot over your 3+ decades of covering high school sports.
Wait, one more thing. Dawn, you know who was asking about you? Nobody.
That's what I knew that was coming.
See ya.
On that, we will leave it there. Dawn Rebel of the TribLive High School Sports Network, Mike White of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Thanks for coming on the TroupCast. We will see you next week right here on Oneburg. Have a great night, everyone.